Hi, and welcome to StockInvest.us podcast for week 16. This week, the podcast is delayed by a day. The reason is it was national holiday in Lithuania yesterday. In addition to that, all my podcast equipment is packed down due to reconstruction where I do the podcast. Hopefully, everything will be back as normal next week, but for this week, you will only be able to see my screen recordings. And I guess the sound may not be optimal, but you will bear with that because the main thing is, how will this week be? Will it be yet another red week? Last week I told you it will be a red week. It became a red week. Will this week be the same? Whatever is left of the week, and what about the trading tips? We will get back to all of this shortly. What I can tell you is that Tesla might continue up from today's level, ending last week at 985. I thought Tesla might go down to 950. Apple, Microsoft, almost on target, but Bitcoin did not do as well as I hoped. The trading tips, well, they have performed more or less like I thought already 2 weeks ago. It has been slow, but one of them is already up 16%. Actually, almost 18%, and that is GTE. We will get back to that ticker, the full name, and what I think will happen forward. But first, we'll do as usual. We'll go through the market. What can we expect for the market ahead of us this week? Then drop quickly through some of the technical analysis of Apple, Microsoft, and Tesla, Bitcoin, and Dogecoin. And at the very end, of course, the trading tips. First, stay tuned for the disclaimer, then I will be back with a market review.
Welcome to StockInvest.us podcast. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money, and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. You should not base your investment decision upon StockInvest.us. By using the information provided, you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.
Last week became yet another red week, just as expected. Nasdaq was down 2.76%, ending the week at 13,332. Question now is, will it fall below 13,000 and head into the 12,000 territory? Dow Jones did a little bit better. Actually, Dow Jones has been doing better for many weeks now. It's been tech stocks that have been hammered because Dow Jones was only down 0.89% last week, ending at 34,411. And the question I will try to answer is exactly, will it be a red or will it be a green week? And you may wonder, well, is it that important? Because it's the single stocks that are most important, the trade that you want to do. Well, if the market is negative, it is so much harder to do good trades than if the market is positive. And these things you should put into your overall thinking, into your overall strategy, because the best thing actually is when there is an expectation on the red market, be much more careful, be much more thorough, even go less on your investments, wait it out, because red markets is usually an opportunity, especially if you manage to take them at a very low, because after some red there will be some green. But now Nasdaq been red for 3 weeks and is down more than 6% over these 3 weeks. The question is, as I said, will it be a red or will it be a green week? I will try to answer that. I will do two things. I will look at some fundamental stuff, then I will do a technical analysis of the chart. And combined with these things, I will try to make a qualified conclusion. And the one thing, of course, that is in the media is the Ukraine conflict. And I told you, I don't know how long it is. It must be more than a year ago. I told you this conflict would come and that it would trigger the market. The thing now is that Russia is on the second offensive. And being on the second offensive means that there should be coming more negative news. The news that you should be most worried about is news that could indicate some sort of negative escalation. We know that Europe, US now is trying to put more heavy weapons into Ukraine, not going directly, but giving Ukraine money so they can buy heavy weapon and then per se not involve NATO or EU as much into the transaction. The thing is that it's very hard to see that Putin will tolerate this. He will most likely, or Russia will most likely react some way. There are some speculations that they will try to bomb one of these aid convoys, military aid convoys, could even try to do it outside Ukraine as a pre-warning that they will not accept like heavy tanks coming in to Russia. This is highly possible, and you should keep a close eye to whatever happens in Ukraine now, because if we get that scary scenario that signals escalation or possible signaling escalation, it will hit the markets hard. Doesn't matter what if it's totally realistic or not. If these news are that it might happen, we should see some heavy falls. And just to put this into a bigger context, that StockInvest, we analyze more than 38,000 tickers or something like that. And we give these buy and sell signals, and every week I tell you how many buy signals there is. And right now it's 23% buy signals. Last week was 25. And I try to give you reasoning, what does this mean? And just to give you an example, last week most numbers of buy signals fell. Right now there is 40% buy signals at Nasdaq. It's very, very low. London is down to 22. Shenzhen, China is down at 10. Tokyo at 20. New York Stock Exchange at 24. They are very, very low. It means that we are getting close to a place where things is oversold. It's too depressive. And usually we'll have a reaction up, and I will say it's a super buying opportunity. The thing is that when these signals are so low, we know that there is a huge scare in the market, and usually when people are in some sort of panic mode, it is easy to give in. You just need one really bad news and you can have these extreme falls, 3%, 5%. I've seen them many times enough because I've been long enough in the trading game. These really, really huge falls. Last time we had something somewhat similar was, of course, in the beginning of COVID and when the Ukraine conflict started. But these red days where the market just go too far down, we are currently at a situation where this may happen, and it just needs a certain news to trigger that event. And that is why I want you to keep an eye, of course, on the Ukraine conflict, because I think that is the one thing that really can push it. We know that there will be a conflict most likely between China and Taiwan coming up, in addition to a lot of other things, big things. The general thing is that the market and the fundamental news is not positive by any means right now. And one thing is the oil price. I told you last week, I think despite what Biden is doing, pushing out billions of barrels of oil together with other European countries, it will not help. And last week oil went up by $10, currently trading around $106. And I think oil will just continue upwards. And I'm pretty sure that any minute now we will have a situation where Putin actually may stop or reduce gas deliveries quite drastically to Europe, and that will put especially Germany in a very severe situation. It's one of these things that can come popping up, and that will have some very serious consequences. The 10-year Treasury yield also went up by 15 points last week at 286 now, but it's very, very still very low compared to where everyone thinks it will be due to the higher inflation. And I always speak about inflation because it's such an important thing, and the high oil price will just mean higher fuel prices, higher energy prices, and of course that will just keep that bad inflation spiraling. And I believe it was Warren Buffett that said, I am more worried about inflation than world war. What that means, well, inflation is really an economic killer, and you can have a recession by the end of a huge inflation, going over to stagflation, then into a recession. And everything, as we speak, looks like we might head into a recession. I personally think that will be the case. And as I told you last week and even the weeks before, I think that by the end of April, we will see the first job numbers start to come in negative territory, and it will just get worse from that point on. So, as I also said, I think all these things will push gold much higher because gold is a safe haven. I have a personal target of 2,500 for the gold. And gold went up $38 last week, trading at $1,985 right now. And I think it was yesterday I saw it above 2,000. Has been above 2,000 a few weeks ago, then bouncing up and down, but currently and more or less steadily growing up. And I think it's just a matter of time before we are well above 2,000. We will see. But gold seems like safe haven to me in a situation where inflation is dominating. And these things, they will come into the Q results. I'm pretty sure that from now on, we will see more and more companies doing pre-warnings for the Q results, where they will say that they will not meet the estimated targets that were set earlier due to sanctions in Russia. Many companies had to take a huge loss, closing all their businesses in Russia, and are affected otherwise by these things, and these losses, they had to be put into the books, meaning that they will have to put them out in the public in the Q results, and before that happens, if there is a major change to the Q results, they will have to pre-announce it, and I think we will just see more and more of that. So from a fundamental point of view, it's time to go over to the technical picture. But from a fundamental point of view, you can hear me slightly negative, means that I don't manage to see why we should get into a very, very good period as is for the stock market. From a fundamental point of view, there is really no reason why the Russian war should end this week, the Ukraine war should end this week. It will most likely just keep pushing forward, and even the United States says that it can last a year. Who really knows? So from a fundamental point of view, I don't manage to see any reason why the market should go up this week. That brings us to the chart, and if we look at the chart, if you're listening to me at some podcast, you can also see this in video format at YouTube, where you'll see the charts, and usually you also see me. But as I said, this week I do not have all the equipment. But the chart indicates two things. First off, we can tell that Nasdaq is moving horizontal between 12,500 and 14,600 points. The other thing is that now it has a sell signals from the short term and the long term moving average, giving a so-called Death Star, indicating that we should get further down. But the relative strength index is very low, it's 31, and usually we get into some small minor buying opportunity for a week, maybe two, when we are hitting this low. Last time was in around February 15th. And the Nasdaq had 3-4 very nice days after. And then it was back in March 7-8, when Nasdaq fell all the way to 12,500 and then went up more than 2,000 points. We are getting close to the point where it's a fair chance that things may turn up. And you heard me before saying that it's so important that the next bottom is higher than the previous. And this is the case right now. We need to see Nasdaq go up from today's level. That will be a good sign, because then it's most likely to head back up, maybe even to the 15,000, 16,000 range. But we need it to happen now, because below today's level there is very little support. and given the right thing, it will just fall very hard until 12,800, later 12,600. And just to repeat that as well, I told you the sell signals, the buy signals were very few buy signals, much sell signals. And this again is the situation. We just need some bad news. It doesn't have to be the biggest one, and you will see markets just push downwards. Volume is following market, not very good, I would say, so we cannot draw any real conclusion from the volume itself. Some signs that market may actually touch up from today's level, but if it touches up, it will find so much resistance, even just at 13,400, then at 13,600, 13,800, 14,000. So the ride up should be a very slow one. There is no reason why we should see a huge fast movement upwards. But come again, the most important thing is that we will have a bottom higher than 12,580. Looking at the chart, it's indicating more or less the same as the fundamental picture. It is somewhat hard terrain, all this resistance above, very little support below. And I think that we will have to be braced for yet another red week. And I think this time it may go as low as 12,600, most likely 12,800, we will see. And I think by the end of the week, Nasdaq will be somewhere between 12,800 and 13,000 points. So let's say that we believe Nasdaq will end at 12,850 points by the end of the week. You should keep in mind two things to end this analysis: that with no support below, the fall can be very hard and very fast. So to me, it looks like it will be a very volatile week. Hopefully we will push upwards, and if we push upwards, it will be most likely a slow movement. So right now the risk reward is for further fall. I think we'll leave it by that and just look how the charts for Microsoft, Apple, Bitcoin, Tesla is looking. We will start with Apple as we always do, and last week I told you I thought Apple would end the week at $162. Apple ending at 165.29, so I was off by $3 for the Apple target. But Apple moved more or less like I thought it would, and it looks very much like the Nasdaq chart, not so strange at all due to the size of these companies. They very reflect the market. It will be somewhat the same here. There is sell signals from the short-term moving average, the long-term moving average, and if Apple doesn't go up today, there will be a sell signals from the relation between the two moving averages. Last time it was a sell signal was back in February 16th, and Apple then fell from around $170 to $150. It got a buy signals from the same moving averages back in March 20th and went up from 165 to 178, and now we're heading towards a sell signal. Volume is following the stock, almost somewhat good, and compared to Nasdaq, Apple actually has some support below today's level, which means that I don't think there will be a very huge, very fast fall for Apple if things go down. Relative strength index is getting very close to oversold, like Nasdaq when it was that low, same time for periods, it had an upturn, but it can move further down before it goes up. Support, as I said, where it is today, later at 160, 155, and on the upside there are some resistance around 168, 170, and 173 and 175. Indicating to me a horizontal move between, let's say, 160 and 170 for the week, ending towards the lower part of that. So I'll reduce the target this week from 162 last week, I will reduce the target to 160. And we will just continue straight on to Microsoft. And if we look at Microsoft, we should see more or less the same. Microsoft took a more deeper fall than Apple last week, and actually it fell a little bit more than I thought, because I had a target of 284 and Microsoft ended at 279.83. So I was $4 off for Microsoft. And if you look at the chart, we can see that the stock is getting to the bottom of the trend. That is usually a good buying opportunity. And I think Microsoft, if not this week, maybe then next week, it should be a buying opportunity for those who love Microsoft. And on the upside, it faces the resistance at 287, 295, and 300. On the downside, it finds some support where it is today, then later at 275. Also here, relative strength index is getting low, and again, just to repeat all over again, when the relative strength index are this low, is usually a buying opportunity. So we are getting close to where it might be a swing trade opportunity, but also the place where when things go down, it can go really fast down. To me, since Microsoft fell more than expected last week, I think that we are close to some short-term bottom. Sell signals from the short-term moving average, long-term moving average, even sell signals from the relation between the two of them, also called a death cross, indicating that there shouldn't be any real upside for Microsoft anytime soon. But there is a swing trade between 280 and 290, even up to 295, so there are money to be made if you're able to time your trade correct. Personally, I think that Microsoft will move somewhere between 272 and 292 for the week. I think that will be the interval Microsoft will move. And ending the week somewhere not so far from where it is today. My best guess is $278. So that will be the target for Microsoft, 278, and I've been reducing the target for weeks for Microsoft. And then there is Tesla. I had a look at Tesla a little bit earlier today, and I liked what I saw. To me, it looks like Tesla might continue upwards. And if we look at the chart, we see that Tesla is in a slight rising trend. It moved perfectly up from a double bottom at $276. Has a buy signals from the short-term moving average, long-term moving average. Relative strength index is getting low at 39. It's not oversold, so it can still fall some more. But our system have identified a pivot bottom at $975. Which is a good thing. It fell from being overbought at 1145. It's colored red in the chart, so I recommend you to watch the YouTube version because you'll see the charts and you'll see what I speak about. And it was colored red. That's our way to say that it's overbought on the relative strength index, and usually then you will have a correction down. So everything happening in Tesla was total natural correction down. Now it's turning up just above the middle of the trend, and that is also usually a good signal. But it may fall down, you never know. But if it does, it has very good support at 950, 900, 850, 800, and very little resistance above up until 1200. So right now we are in a situation where there is little resistance above, good support below, and that is usually something good. I would say any trade around 950 should be a good risk reward for Tesla, and even today's level may pose a buying opportunity because, as is the chart shows, that most likely Tesla should continue upwards. I think the very low for the week will be 950 and the very high will be somewhere upwards around 1150, and I think I'll have to put a more positive target for Tesla believing Tesla will end at 1,050 by the end of the week. If markets go into a dreadful fall, having some super red days, that will affect Tesla, doesn't help which stock it is, but that good support between 800 and 950 should take off some of that and help the stock, and will just be an even better buying opportunity if it happens. Then there is Bitcoin, Dogecoin. Before I will give you this week's trading tips. And looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin did not manage to do as well as I hoped last week, but it's in the bottom of a falling trend and should continue upwards. Relative strength index being low has a sell signals from the long-term moving average, but a buy signals from the short-term moving average. Faces lots and lots of resistance, every single dollar upwards to 48,000, so it will be a slow ride. There is nothing indicating that it will be very fast. Right now it looks to me like being a very good buying opportunity and at a very good risk reward. If it falls down, find some support at 40, later at 38, and then 36. If it breaks below 40, it's not a good thing, because then it will also break that slight rising trend, which we want to continue with in. I've been too optimistic, but I will keep having an optimistic view for Bitcoin. Last week I thought it will end at $46,000, but ending at 40,000, I was way off. I'll have to reduce a little bit, and I will keep a target this week for $44,000 for Bitcoin. Quick look at Dogecoin, and I use Dogecoin just to represent all these other smaller coins. And Dogecoin is, I would say, almost interesting, because as I told you, when everything was going down, what you want to see is a huge increase in the volume in Dogecoin, and that will be a buying opportunity. And Dogecoin is following the volume very nicely. It had that volume peak when it peaked up to $17, and I think that falling trend is broken, which represents that 11 cents. And I think that from this point on, we should see Dogecoin continue upwards and soon break out of the falling trend. Target for next week will be moderate. I think that we will see Dogecoin somewhere around 15-16 cents. So let's say 16 cents by the end of the week. And that brings us to the trading tips. And one of the trading tips I gave you last week, I told you a little bit about it, was Grand Tierra Energy, and that one did exactly what it should and is up so far 17.88 in my portfolio. But some of the other stocks are in minus, and if you just keep out for the last 5 minutes, you will know exactly how things went. Because coming up is the trading tips. Then we are at the very last part of the podcast, and it's the trading tips. So what are the stocks that I want to buy this week, which I think will do good? Well, I will not buy any stocks this week, and I will give you the reasoning why. And the reason is I have 5 trades open, because none of my previous trades last 2 weeks has been closed yet, and I think they are a good buy. I will not get a higher exposure into the market. I will keep these 5 trading tips, and I will walk you through them one by one. We will start with the first, which I got back 2 weeks ago, Allscript Healthcare Solution, MDRX. And I got into MDRX at $22.6. Currently ending Friday at 22.11, it's down 2.17%. But as I said then, and I will repeat now, I thought that stock would hold good if markets went down. And as you know, markets went down these 2 weeks. The reasoning was then it had very good support below, and that was the thing that I was looking to have. Something that has the potential for the upside, but if it goes sideways, meaning the market's going down, it will hold water somewhat good. So I still have all script health solutions in my portfolio, and if you look at the chart, we will see that it's in a rising trend. It is at very good support levels where it is. Buy signals from the the long-term moving average, and I think it will just continue upwards. Volume is more or less almost dead, exactly what I want to see, because I want to see volume and price following each other like it's doing now, moving sideways slightly down, and volume is almost at the floor. Makes me believe that it will turn anytime soon. And if I bought it 2 weeks ago, thinking it was good, it's an even better buy now, in my opinion. So if you don't have Allscript Healthcare Solution, MDRX, it might be one of the stocks that you want to look at. If it managed to go about $23, that will be somewhere around 3-4%. It should move quite fast upwards. And in this case, that's exactly what I want. I want that solid support below, little resistance above, in the hope that if markets give a green day or some breathing space, we should see this stock move upwards. The other stock also bought in week 14 was ETRN. And ETRN is Equitrans Midstream. And I told you the reason why I would buy that, because it's in the right sector. It's was based on that, together with that very, very good support below. And I bought ETRN at 848. Currently it's ending at 847, so it is down 0.12% or more or less totally unchanged for the last 2 weeks. I've been sitting 2 weeks in the stock. That currently just is at the same level as I bought it. I bought it a little bit early, but it did exactly what it should do. When markets went really down, it held water, and now it looks even better than any time before, because now it's again pushing up to the level where it's no resistance. Just managed to break 860, there will be absolutely no resistance up to 1050, and I think it will take that gap. That was the gap I was hunting 2 weeks ago, and I think more than ever that it's possible now. Volume following the stock nicely, relative strength index is coming from a bottom. Everything looks very good as I see it. And especially has that support below, because if we head into, and if it happens, as I mentioned 4 times already in this podcast, if we get into this very, very bad red days, I think this is a stock that will hold a little bit better than most stocks. It will be hammered, but doing better, and the losses will be less. And that is the name of the game. Reduce your losses, increase your gains. That's what we're trying to do. So this will be my second stock tip for the week, ETRN, Equitrans Midstream Corporation. I'm already in, and I think it is a very good opportunity as is. And then there is last week, there was 3 stocks last week which I said I thought could do good. It was Nvidia, GTE, Gran Terra, and Sumerica. And I was a little uncertain about a few of them, and also about the market as such. And let's start with Nvidia. I bought Nvidia at 217.50, and currently it's trading at 217.83, so it's up 0.15%. Haven't made any money, hardly even covered the commission. But that was more or less also what I expected, and I really like what I see in Nvidia. I think it's a super chance to get a good gain in Nvidia. It was as low as 21 on the relative strength index, hasn't been that low for ages. It might still fall, you never know, but it's picking up, currently picking up from the same bottom. Our systems indicate a double bottom formation, indicating a very strong gain forward. I'm not sure it will be that high. Personally, I'm just hunting around 5 to 10%. That's where I will be super happy. Lots and lots and lots of resistance above. Shouldn't be any very fast journey upwards, but I think it might be a solid one. On the downside, finds only some support where it is today and down to 212. So be prepared. This may very easily fall if market starts to fall hard. You will see Nvidia fall hard as well. So it can go both ways, but I like what I see, and I think it is a good buying opportunity, as is even for this week. And then there is GTE. And if I remember correctly what I told you last week, the only thing that worried me was that it was somewhat low volume, but it is in the right sector, because as I said, I thought oil will just continue upwards despite all this rubbish talk from governments about pushing barrels and fixing everything. It's like that transitory inflation thing. It is just an attempt to keep the markets calm. And right now it is at $1.78. I bought GTE at 151, currently up 17.88%. So last week, we'll get to Zomedica very soon, but last week was a green week despite Nasdaq being red. The three trades I made ended up green, and even with week 14, I have managed to keep my green strike going simply because the runner is running. And I don't have those huge losing stocks. Looking at Gran Tierra Energy, I think it's a fair chance that it can continue much higher. That last fall in the volume indicate that it might fall down to 1 cent. If it does, it will be a very good buying opportunity. Anywhere between $1.6 and $1.7 should be a very good opportunity, because everything is indicating that this stock should just continue upwards. Pricing on short-term moving average, long-term moving average is within a rising trend. No resistance above today's level, just some the next dollar, but after that it's free ride all the way up. And I think this one can yield very, very strong. I will not be surprised if this will yield me another 50%, but we will wait and see. And as a trading tips for this week, I would say at current level, it's okay trading tips, but especially if it falls a little back and you can get it around $1.6, $1.7, it should be super. This will be just like I told you last week about bore drilling. If it fell down to below 4, you should buy, because it should be a good opportunity, and it was really a good opportunity. Same thing here, anything around 1.6, 1.7 will be a very good opportunity. Current level represents somewhat okay level. Is very nice if you're in, like I am, because we will just ride the ride as long as it lasts. And then there was the last trip, which is Zomedica. And if you remember a few weeks back, we made a nice profit in Zomedica. And I thought that getting back at 0.30, last time we bought at the same level, it got up to 36 we banked, so 10, 12, 14% or whatever it was. And I thought that it will be the same opportunity now, and I think it still is, but this is a high risk stock with huge movements. But I think these levels is a buying opportunity. You will have a fair chance. Is trying to find that sweet spot when to exit, currently trading just below 0.3. So it's having me at a 3.61% loss so far in Zomedica, because I bought at 30.5 cents and currently is trading at 29.4 cents. It's one of these stocks that just moves, and it's penny stock, high risk. Last week was a good opportunity. I think this week is an even better opportunity. It has been turning up at 28 cents, 29 cents, and if it managed to turn now and do as it did the last time, it should maybe go up 5 to 10 cents. That should give you anywhere from, let's say, 12 to 20%. I think it will be a week where it will be profit and it might be closed somewhere during the week. Will be very exciting to see. That was the trading tips for this week. No new. You heard me mention that I think Tesla might be a very good buying opportunity, but it will not be my specific tips for the week. But keep an eye on Tesla, and everything is looking at least much better in Tesla. So we are at the very end of this podcast. I'm sorry that I was not able to record it as usual. There were reasons for that, and it's also a reason for the delay. You will have this podcast on a Tuesday and not on a Monday. But you heard me 107.8 podcasts every single Monday now for more than 2 years. So you can bear with a 1-day delay. Most important, I hope you had a very good Easter. And I hope you start to understand that you need strategies, you need to think a bit long term. Doesn't matter if you invest only $100 or if you invest 10, 20, $100,000, even $1 million, it's still the same name of the game. You have to have a strategy, you have to think very clearly what you do and give reasoning why you buy. And preferably you should have exit strategies. What are the strategy for when to exit the stock? I've been talking 107 podcasts about stop loss. Use trailing stop loss or stop loss. It will save you from losses, because that's the one thing that really kills all portfolio. Is the stock just continue to fall and not turning when you hope, and when you finally sell it goes up after you have taken a loss of 40, 50, 60%. Use stop loss and let the runners run for as long as you can. You can use trailing stop loss. For the forthcoming podcast, we will also start to talk a little bit about exit strategies. What are we looking for? And in preparation of that, you can always go to watch my YouTube channel and look at the things I say about accumulated volume. Because support resistance, you hear me mentioning this in all podcasts, there is resistance at this level and support at this level. They really play very well in, and I have made a short video. You'll find it at jimstromberg.com, where I speak a little bit about accumulated volume, how to read it, how to understand it. It's a few minutes video, and you should watch it, because for the future podcast we will talk more about exit strategies. Until next week, I really hope you will have a green week, that you will be able to do far better than me and bank in some very good gains and continue to grow your portfolio. If you are on the red side, that you are just having one loss after the other, try not to dig yourself into the cellar. Try to reorganize your thought, accept the losses. You just have to find that bottom, get out of the stocks that doesn't work. Regroup, rethink, and go in with new initiative. It will all solve in the end. Until next week, have a super week, and we will speak. Bye.